Hello you beautiful bumpkins and welcome back to another video. Today we're talking about Easter eggs foreshadowing future games, which is pretty much the game developers putting in Easter eggs in their game, announcing their upcoming project before they do it normally, like through the Spike TV Awards back in the day or any other way of announcing their game. Okay, so for anyone that doesn't know, an Easter egg is an unexpected or undocumented feature in a piece of computer software, DVD, game, or anything like that included as a joke or as like a bonus. It's just kind of a pre-announcement kind of thing. Just a fun thing for the fans to find. And they're still fun to find even after the fact. Even many years later, they're cool to even go back and look at the cool ways games have announced their upcoming projects. And newer games have also do. This is a thing that's been going on for years. So hope you guys sit back, relax, and enjoy all the Easter eggs foreshadowing future games. Enjoy the video. And the first one we are going to talk about is Batman Arkham Asylum Foreshadowing Arkham City. This is one of the most well-known Easter eggs probably of all time. It took so long for no one could find it on their own. Everyone and their mamas they were going everywhere, every wall, every building, to blow every single wall up to try to find this Easter egg, because people knew there was an Easter egg in the game, but they just could not find out where it was until the help of the developers came in about 6 months after it was announced that there's an Easter egg in the game. They gave step-by-step instructions on how to find it because no one could figure it out. If you still want to find it, it's still in the game now. You can still go in Arkham Asylum 2009 and find this Easter egg. All of these games, you can go and still find the Easter eggs, which is great because that's why I love Easter eggs. They're always there. To find this one, actually, instead of me explaining it, a little bit more fun way is me reenacting it out for you. So this is how you find the Easter egg. So first, you have to sprint forward and turn right into the first room. Inside, turn left right away before the fireplace and the picture with the Warren's huge self-portrait above it. Spray 3 charges of the explosive gel. 1 or 2 won't work, and that was the big thing. That was the thing that was stopping people from finding it, because people had blown up this wall before, but it had never blown up because you need to have 3 charges of explosive gel to open it. It's that powerful of a wall. It holds the biggest secrets of Arkham Asylum and Arkham City. But once you finally blow it up, it will reveal a hidden room, and inside you'll find some cool things. There's like a couple of statues. There is a scarab in there actually, but the biggest thing that people wanted to find this room for was the reveal of the blueprints, which these blueprints revealed Arkham City. Pretty much showed an expansion of the Arkham Asylum map and showed an expansion going into Arkham City with big letters at the top saying approved. Pretty much approving that Arkham City is going to get expanded, and also approving that the game is going to be the next one that is going to release. I love this Easter egg. This is one of my favorite ones. And I wanted to talk about it first just because everyone, like I said, it's a really popular one. So a lot of people have talked about it. There's a lot of videos on the internet about it already, even back in like 2010 or whenever it was like discovered. I just wanted to talk about it because it's a fun one, but this was a teaser for the 2011 sequel, Batman Arkham City. Next one, I'm excited to talk about this one because Remedy might be my favorite company that foreshadows their games. They do it so well, and have been doing it for so long for like almost every single one of their games pretty much, which I love that because it just like shows they got like the passion. They like love their games and they like have an idea. They have like a set idea of what they wanted to do for years. I'm going to try to talk about one from each game mostly. So the first one I want to talk about is during the events of Alan Wake's American Nightmare, which was not the original game. It was like a standalone game that came out after the first game. During American Nightmare, you will hear a song played called Balance Slays the Demon. But if you put the song in reverse, you can hear it say it will happen again in another town called Ordinary. But in Control, we learn about the protagonist. Her name is Jessie Faden, and she was born in a town called Ordinary. 2019 is when Control came out, and that's 7 years. That's just crazy to me. So they foreshadowed something that happened to a game. It wasn't even the next game that came out, but still, 7 years. That's a long time, and they knew all the way back then. Next one we're going to talk about is Quantum Break, which this was the very first game that I played from Remedy, and I love this game. I was so excited when this game came out. I saw the trailer for it back in 2016. I was 14. It's like, this game is so cool. And I don't remember jack squat. I haven't played it in so long. Quantum Break, it was released in 2016. And this game has several references to Alan Wake 2. Again, 7 years before Alan Wake 2, which came out in 2023. This was found by a Twitter user named Aaron.
also known as Nixpirations. I'm sorry if I butchered that. I don't know how to pronounce that. That's a very fancy word. I'm not that smart. In October of 2023. During Alan Wake 2, you are trying to escape the Dark Place. He does this by writing a manuscript for a book called Initiation. Now, in Quantum Break, it's during Act 1, there's a chalkboard full to the brim of references to the first Alan Wake game. Like, as places like the Dark Place, Deep Waters, it looks like someone badly wants to figure out the mystery to Alan Wake, but can't figure it out. If you look off to the right of the board, you'll see words labeled 1, Departure, 3, Return, and then smushed in the middle, it's a number 2 titled Initiation. Departure and Return are 2 other manuscripts used in both games. Both of those, Departure and Return, were introduced back in the first game. Initiation was the only manuscript not seen in the first game, and then it was introduced in Alan Wake 2. Also, if you look a little closer, you'll see to the right of entry 1 and 3, a little note saying manuscript 1 and 3. And Initiation is the only one with the question mark, because we don't know what that is yet. They don't know what that is. They must have, maybe they heard about or found it somewhere, but they just don't know what it is because it hasn't been used yet.
Kind of. So the thing is, Initiation, I don't think it was talked about, and if it was talked about in Alan Wake 1, it was the very end of Alan Wake 1. But Initiation was realized either in the beginning of 2 or the end of 1. He can go from Departure to Return to get out of the Dark Place. He had to first write Initiation before finishing Return.
Pretty much confirms that they know exactly what they're doing. They want people to find this and stuff, and I love it when developers do that. They have another one in Quantum Break, Foreshadowing Alan Wake 2. This actually happens before the chalkboard Easter egg. This happens right in the beginning. Once you exit the car, some dude drops you off. I think it seemed like it was his buddy, it seemed like he knew him, but his friend or acquaintance dropped him off at the college, and then you start walking around and start exploring. You're just looking around for a little bit. You're looking for the, I believe, whatever building they're telling you to look for. I think it's the physics building, but I'm not 100% sure on that. There's a bunch of stuff. There's a bunch of optional stuff you can do. There's an indicator. There's an indicator in the game and it tells you can talk or look at this sign. You can look at posters and talk to certain people if the game allows you to. So you're at Riverport College and you see this library. There's these protesters trying to stop the destruction of the library. Because they've been doing this, there's actually a note right after you talk to this protester that shows all the things that Riverport has been demolishing or changing in the last almost nearly 20 years. Right after you're done talking to her, right to the right there's this giant tent with the TV and some posters, some protest posters, some boxes and stuff. The only thing you can interact with, though, is the TV. If you click on it, you'll be surprised by seeing a live-action trailer showing 2 FBI agents. At first, it might seem like nothing, but then there's a dead body shot. Then you hear, every story has its writer.
Every story finds its writer.
Now that just, Alan Wake's a writer, if anyone doesn't know. Still, you could be like, maybe they're making a little live-action Easter egg for the first game. You could still be thinking that at this time. We are shown a picture of Alex Casey, which was a book series written by Alan Wake, but he's also one of the main FBI agents introduced in Alan Wake 2. And since we're showing the picture, I'm pretty sure they're talking about the person, not the book series. But yeah, especially with the dead body and just the FBI agents trying to track him down. Alan sending out the letters. In the actual trailer, it shows Alan trapped and typing out manuscripts and leaving them for the cops. So obviously it's 7 years later, so there's going to be some stuff that changed. But I mean, I'm still mind-boggled about how accurate it was. But anyways, after you watch it, it's very obvious this is a prototype teaser/trailer for Alan Wake 2. It's very accurate to the Alan Wake 2 storyline, which is just so cool that they knew. Again, 7 years. 7 years must be their lucky number, but 7 years before it was even released. And also, back then, they called it Return of Alan Wake. Obvious. They're just throwing it at us. They're just man, guys, catch these, Remedy has the coolest ones in my opinion. The live action teaser trailer with actual actors. One of them was Sam Lake, the director, actually. The main FBI agent was Sam Lake, the director, which I think that's so funny that he was in that. That might be my favorite one. That's such a cool idea to tease their future game. They got some really original ideas. Not like some of the other ones. Some of the other ones just with cool endings. These are just really original in my opinion. To me, they have probably things teased in Alan Wake 2 7 years down the line that we don't even know about yet. I just have a feeling, dude. Last part of the Remedy universe, I promise. Control foreshadowing Alan Wake 2, and I could make a whole separate video about this because there's so many Easter eggs, either foreshadowing Alan Wake 2 or just the previous entry back in 2010, I think it came out. So a lot of acknowledgement to Alan Wake games. And also Control was the game that confirmed, I guess you could say, at the Remedy universe. Technically, Control and Alan Wake are the only two canon in that universe. I'm counting Quantum Break. We've already talked about in the video. I think those Easter eggs are so obvious, foreshadowing to Alan Wake 2. So I think at the time they probably thought this was going to be canon in the same universe, but it just, unfortunately, Microsoft has all the rights to that game. So that's the problem with that. But you can believe whatever you want, and I kind of believe that they're all in there. And there is a lot. There is Ocean View Motel that is very consistent throughout both games. First showed up in Control, then in Alan Wake 2. Casper Darling, he was the head of research for the FBC. He's not really in either one of the games, he's just talked about frequently. But we actually do get a face in Alan Wake 2. We get to see a picture of him, as well as in the New Game Plus, there's a new ending which features Casper on the TV as he's talking, trying to get a signal. And I'm going to save that more for a different video. The last one we're going to talk about is talking to Dylan. So when Jesse's talking to her brother Dylan, he talks about a dark place and a dark person, saying his name is Mr. Door. Warland Door is his full name. He's known simply as Mr. Door. That's what we all call him by, because Warland, come on, who's going to call him that? But anyways, he's an interdimensional entity who has the power of traveling between worlds, and he's first seen in Alan Wake 2. He's first mentioned in Control, though. Mr. Door also told Dylan in one world there was a writer who wrote a story about a cop. Alex Casey, bruh. Obviously, the connections are there, and obviously we know the connections are going to be there, because Control hugely, like, when they were making this, I think they heavily wanted this game to just, like, prove that their universe is connected, or at least Control and Alan Wake is. Remedy is just filled to the brim with these Easter eggs foreshadowing their future games, and I love it. I love it so much. And now we're gonna slow down a little bit, take a little breather, go back to a nice little easy one, another really well-known one actually. This one is from Uncharted 3. And this one has been talked about on YouTube by the great YouTuber Game Ranks. I talk about a couple of the games that he talks about in his video. I really was trying to find different ones that he didn't talk about, because there's only like one video on YouTube talking about different ones, and it was his. But I did want to talk about a couple of them, like the Uncharted 3 one and the Batman one he also talks about. Let's talk about the Uncharted 3 one. Now, I love the Uncharted games, and Naughty Dog. Naughty Dog is also, they're very well known for shouting out their past work, but there's also times when they've shouted out upcoming projects. And one of their most famous ones is found in the very beginning of Uncharted 3. It's when you're at the bar. Before you leave, go to the very right side of the bar, and you'll see a newspaper, and the headline reads, "Scientists are still struggling to understand deadly fungus." And now, if that doesn't sound like Last of Us to you, then that's what they're talking about. They're talking about Last of Us here, 100%. Uncharted 3 came out in 2011, while Last of Us came out in 2013. Just nearly 2 years. So again, like, they were probably working on them simultaneously, or at the very end of Uncharted 3, some people started working on Last of Us, who knows. This was before the announcement. It wasn't that long before. The announcement was at the Spike Video Games Awards in December of 2011. It was only 1 month after the release, so it really wasn't that long, but it was a cool nod nonetheless. Okay, so the next one is Cyberpunk is teased in The Witcher 3. Now, this is a very popular one, but another one I love. I've actually never played either one of these games. Actually, I played a little bit of Cyberpunk when it first came out, and I stopped playing it, and I haven't tried it again since they've fixed it. But I definitely want to give it a shot, because I really do like CD Projekt Red. They're another very good company, and another company that also likes to tease their future games. So I respect that, because they know what they're doing. This tease happens when Ciri and Geralt are hanging by a campfire. Ciri is pretty much talking to Geralt how everyone wants her powers. They just want her so they can control her. She has the power of, like, traveling between worlds, and this is well confirmed in the lore that she has this power and ability. So you can kind of see where I'm going with this. She can travel to any world she wants. But pretty much what she says next is like the cherry on top. This is what confirms it. So after you ask Ciri, your voyage with Avalanche, how did it start? This is when you start getting the juicy details. She was on the run and traveling through many worlds. This is when Avalanche appeared and took her to a world where she was safe for only about a year, but this was the longest time she was safe, which is crazy, only a year. This was the Cyberpunk 2077 world, but you can get more information on her. If you ask her what was the world, she will go into more detail about it, confirming the game's connection. She'll talk about how pretty much cars are flying in the air and humans have metal in their heads. Those were the two that stuck out to me. And then Geralt's just like, no, he's in disbelief. But yeah, that's what confirms it. It's a very obvious nod to the flying cars and then the like robot cyberpunk looking dudes in Cyberpunk. But proving this point even more is while you're playing Cyberpunk, you can find a magazine featuring Ciri from The Witcher. Okay, so to find this Easter egg, you have to make sure you do a few things. The first step is make sure you pick the corporal life path in the beginning. You can make your person, you get to customize V however you want, the main protagonist. You can customize her however you want, it doesn't matter. But just make sure you pick corpo. And then after that, it's not part of the main story. You kind of have to go off in your own direction. So, just to make it easier, I'm not going to explain it because I would get confused and I wouldn't help. So I'm just going to show you guys where to go to get it right now.
Hey V, it's good seeing you again.
Emergency protocols active. System.
Once you walk into the office, you sit down at your desk, and the one you're going to want to pick is open the drawer. Once you open the drawer, you'll find the Easter egg of Ciri on the magazine. But obviously, since they're both made by the same company, I do think this is just like the Cyberpunk one could just be like them shouting out their previous game, The Witcher 3. I think it was just connecting the worlds. Witcher 3 talked about Cyberpunk, so Cyberpunk wanted to have a little Easter egg of Witcher. That's the Cyberpunk and Witcher 3 connection. Witcher 3, I believe it's having its 10-year anniversary this year, which is crazy. 2020. While The Witcher 3, I believe, came out in 2015, so it was like 5 years, which again is that's a long time. It's like half a decade. Next one we're going to talk about. This is a fun one. I haven't really seen anyone really talk about this one yet. This is a new one that's recently come to light. Baldur's Gate 3 is foreshadowed in Divinity Original Sin 2. And there's actually quite a lot of evidence to prove this one. Yeah, Baldur's Gate 3 came out in 2023, and it wasn't really found until 2024. This one is not more like speculation, it's pretty confirmed. But let's first start with the most damning evidence, the one that people... Pretty much, this is the evidence that got people looking into it. It was back in June 2024, just last year, in the summertime. FGS interviewed Sven Vinke, the CEO of Larian Studios and the creator of Baldur's Gate 3. And one of the questions asked during this interview, are there any undiscovered Easter eggs that players haven't yet found? By the way, brilliant question, my guy. I don't know who you are, but beautiful question, man. That was actually, I doubt people ask that question that often too, so that was a pretty, original question, I feel like. Sven starts off by saying one of the writers put something teasing their next game in Baldur's Gate 3, which that's fun because then in another 4 years I'll have another one Easter egg I can talk about. Then he continues on saying, we did the same thing with Divinity Original Sin 2, having references to Baldur's Gate 3. And it's like right there, boom. It's like, like this, you can't get more proof than that. So yeah, I don't really have any familiarity with this company, so I'm going to need some help from some more enlightened gamers on this situation. A commenter on the exact YouTube video from the interview, Dr. Slash, he had a few ideas. I'm not going to read it word for word because I don't have it like that. The first one he mentioned was mind maggots are similar to mind flayers in Baldur's Gate 3. So in DOS 2, Divinity Original Sin 2, I'm not saying that every time, that's the only time you'll hear me say that. Mind maggots, whatever it is, it's trapped in a jar and we never get to see it. Kind of can go with our own little theories there just because it's never seen what's in there, but its only use in the game is crafting these mind maggot grenades, which are really powerful grenades. I think it's like one of the most powerful grenades in the game, if it's not the most powerful already. They're very similar to the mind flare tadpoles in Baldur's Gate 3.
Okay, so Astral Touch Tadpoles, that is the full name of it, and you are able to evolve or any other illithid infected companion into a partial illithid if you consume the tadpole, which illithid is just it's just a fancy way of saying mind flayers, which I'm going to explain what mind flayers are right now. Mind flayers are aberrations, which are creatures that are unnatural and hard to classify. So the mind flayers have octopus-like features, and I'm going to show a couple pictures so you guys can see what they mean. And that's what it means by aberrations, because they're creatures that are hard to classify. It's like a mix of like an octopus and some weird alien thing. They're actually really flippin' creepy, I can't even lie. But I think it's at the end of Act 1, you meet the Emperor, who is the main antagonist of the Mind Flayers, and he pretty much gives you the option if you want to consume the tadpole or if you don't want to consume the tadpole. It does affect how the game goes. Like if you choose one, I think you get a different ending. There's a bunch of different ways, so it's kind of cool. If you do choose to consume it, it'll give you more powerful illithid powers. I think mind maggots are the tadpoles from BG3. It would make sense, and why not, right? They're never seen. They both have, I don't think it has mind controlling ability, but it can make a grenade, and the mind maggots aren't really used that much throughout the game besides the grenade. That's its only use, and the fact that they're kind of all over the place and you can't really use it for that much stuff kind of is giving me the vibes of the rope from BG3, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit later this video. but they had it all over the place and you couldn't use it. So it would make sense if they did that, just because like why is it in there if you can only use it for grenades and nothing else? The grenades are good. I will say the grenades are very powerful, so it is worth it, but it just seems like there should be more to it.
Another one that he has had was that the White Magister's plan is referenced as the Grand Design in DOS 2. The Mind Flayer's plan in Baldur's Gate 3 is called the Grand Design. Their goal is to reclaim lost power by mass transforming beings into Mind Flayers. This would create an army controlled by an Elder Brain, which is just like the leader of the Mind Flayers, to defeat humans, Githyankies, and even other Illithids. And I have no idea what Githyankies are. Another race in the game, I assume. Oh shit, that hurt. The White Magister plan differs a little bit, but it parallels. You can see some similarities. Their aim is to purge all Source from the world. Source is a key mechanic in DOS 2. It allows for powerful magical skills and upgrades. Their main goal is they seek to capture and control sorcerers and rule over Rivlon, which Rivlon is, it's their land. It's the land they live on. They want to rule over Rivlon. There's a note that you can pick up. It's called the White Magister Meeting Notes. There's 2 versions of it. One of them reads, just one little segment from it says, "This recent expedition of the Council of Seven laid the foundations of our grand design." This is just also another theory that I had. The way this is read and how the White Magister's plan was the White Magister's plan, and then they said after the Council of Seven meeting, they laid the foundations of our grand design. I think, this is again just a theory, their original plan evolved possibly due to influence from the Mind Flayers, which makes me really think that the White Magisters already may be infected by the Mind Flayers. Mind Flayers just have this ability to control your mind and make you do things for them. And now another thing he mentioned is there are character dialogues in DOS 2 talking about Baldur's Gate 3. So in his final dialogue of the game, Tarquin, who is a scholar in the game, mentions a mysterious race from another world, beings that feed on minds. And then Fane, who is a companion in DOS 2, which companions are just people that you come across on your journey and that you can recruit into your army. One of her last, I think this was also towards the end of the game, mentions something along the lines of octopuses are plotting before stopping mid-sentence. This could be directly referencing Mind Flayers, which I think is 100% what they're referencing, which has octopus-like features. Divinity Original Sin 2 came out in 2017, 6 years before Baldur's Gate 3, which dropped in 2023. This means the connection was planned really far in advance. That's like Remedy Entertainment levels of advance, dude. That's 6 years before. That's pretty impressive. Okay, and now before we move on from Baldur's Gate 3, when I was talking in the beginning of Baldur's Gate 3, I mentioned that Baldur's Gate 3 has references to their game, to their newest game that's going to come out in who knows when it's going to come out. There's speculation on Reddit about what the new Easter egg from Baldur's Gate 3 could be. There we go. I think this was the one I was looking at right now. Nope, it wasn't. God damn it. Okay, I'm on Reddit now, and now I can actually look off of the description. So, anyways, some of the theories going along in Reddit is that it's probably going to be related to rope. Shar Zior off of Reddit mentions this, and he says it's going to be related to rope, considering how much of this stuff is littered around and none of it is usable. And then actually, Sufficient Serve commented and added a little bit more context. So he said, "It felt so silly having multiple places at the very start, the hole leading into the ruins, jump from Tiefling Camp to Karlach, or to the Talking Frog, needing Featherfall to guarantee not hurting yourself or tripping, but nearby ropes being useless." So I guess there's just a shit ton of rope all over the place in that game that you can't use for some reason. At least you have Featherfall, so that's nice. But if you don't have Featherfall, you'd be screwed. So a lot of the people guessing on Reddit and just in general think it might have something to do with rope. Maybe it's hinting to the future mechanics in their next game involving rope in some way. Indiana Jones or some shit? That'd be pretty dope. But who knows? It's not going to be Indiana Jones. We'll just have to wait and see what Larian Studios' next game is. But that pretty much wraps up Baldur's Gate 3. Alright, so the next Easter egg is Persona 3 Portable contains teas for Catherine, which would not release for another 2 years. Just for it being only 2 years makes me think that they definitely had this planned. Like, they knew what their next game was going to be. They're probably already working on it. Now, this one is news to me because I've actually never heard of the Persona games and or Catherine games, but they're done by a company called Atlas. Let's get to the Easter egg itself. At Club Escapade in Polowinia Mall, you can speak to an NPC named Man Drinking Alone. So he talks about being a jerk, but insinuates his story is unrelated to Persona 3. This mirrors Catherine's status because it's not part of the Persona series, but it's still made by Atlas. It's just like a standalone game. I don't think they ever made a sequel to Catherine. They just made another game that wasn't in the Persona franchise. He also says one more thing that caught my attention. If they meet again, he will tell her more of his story, which could be a direct message to the fans. Play Catherine to learn more about him. So it just seems like they're like breaking the fourth wall here. They're like really being like, all right, this is not connected to Persona games at all, but please play it because it's still Atlus, you know? This guy, labeled as Man Drinking Alone, is Vincent Brooks. And I'm not saying maybe, but it is Vincent Brooks. I've done enough research. He's wearing the same exact shirt. It's made by Atlus. They're definitely showing love. This character is Vincent Brooks. He is the main character in Catherine. For some reason, this is a debate in the fan base. At least in Reddit, I'm not sure if anywhere else. Some argue it's just a coincidence because supposedly they are not in the same universe. They're not in the same universe, while others believe it was a deliberate tease. Now, I think they can still be not in the same universe and just make it a deliberate tease. I think they were just trying to have some fun, you know? They were just trying to foreshadow their future game. I don't think they're really putting into account that even if they're not in the same universe, and maybe they are. Maybe it's going to be like Remedy, where later down the line it reveals that all these games are in the same universe. I mean, that's kind of what I'm getting, but I could see why people, because technically, if they're in separate universes, that wouldn't be the same guy. But whatever, it's him. He's wearing the same exact shirt. The picture is identical to him. It's identical. I know he's called Man Drinking Alone. The timeline adds credibility. Persona 4 was released in 2008, and then Persona 3 Portable was released in 2010, while Catherine was released in 2012. Catherine's development was likely ongoing during Persona 3 Portable's release. Persona 3 Portable was most likely meant to keep fans engaged until Catherine came out and/or the next Persona game, because Persona 5 didn't come out until 2016. Catherine was 4 years before Persona 5, while Persona 3 Portable was like 6 years before Persona 5. So it was a long time until they had a new game in the series, you know, so I feel like they knew this, and they just wanted to hold fans over because they knew it was going to be a long time. Atlus did not confirm or deny this connection. I couldn't find anywhere. If you guys know something I don't, comments below maybe. That'd be nice. Thank you very much. I'm still going to take it as it is. That's Vincent Brooks. You cannot tell me otherwise. That's Vincent Brooks, man. There is more credibility to this theory because there has been more references to their games. So in Catherine Full Body, which was the 2019 remaster, the bar features Teddy from Persona 4 as well as Morgana from Persona 5 as stuffed animals sitting on the bar somewhere. Yeah, this was only added for the remaster, not in the original game. But Vincent Brooks' appearance in Persona 3 Portable was in the 2010 version, confirmed by videos from that time. I looked and went all the way back to when it was released, and he's been in it since it came out. Since Persona 3 Portable was released, that cameo, Man Drinking Alone, Vincent Brooks, has been in the game. So I think they were 100% Easter egging it up, saying this is going to be our next game. You don't know who this guy is, but you'll see soon. It's a direct message to the fans to play Catherine to learn more about him and his story. Also, knowing who Vincent is after seeing a little bit of clips, I 100% would see him at a bar because holy shit, his life is fucked. I think Atlus knew their next game well in advance and left hints for the fans to discover him because it makes it more fun. Or like, it just feels more organic than the obvious endings in games where it's like, obviously there's going to be a sequel to that. But like, this is like, Vincent Brooks, the first time you play this, you're not going to know that that guy is going to be in a completely separate game in 4 years or whatever it was. Some of these connections might be coincidental, but they make for fun discoveries and a fun video. So, again, don't take this anything too seriously. It's all my opinion. They all kind of feel intentional. They all feel like the developers meant to do this. But anyways, that wraps up Persona 3 and on to the next one. Rockstar. I do want to talk about Rockstar a little bit. I'm not going to talk about it too much because I want to make a whole video on this at some point. And there's so many videos on GTA 6 being foreshadowed. But that is mostly what I'm going to talk about in this one. And I got a couple other ones. We're just going to talk about the GTA 6 ones last. And we're going to talk about the ones that aren't as talked about right now first. So, this one you discover while playing The Ballad of Gay Tony, which is the second DLC of GTA 4 following The Lost and the Damned. At the very end of the game, you'll get a little epilogue. It shows Lewis, one of the main antagonists of GTA 4, jumping out of the Golden Buzzard and parachuting past a sign that says Visit Los Santos. A very obvious now nod to the 2013 successor in GTA 5, which also takes place in Los Santos. The Ballad of Gay Tony was released in 2009, 4 years before GTA 5, 1 year after GTA 4. I just think it's quick, it's fun, it's a cool little, like, showing what's going to happen next. It's one of those endings, teasing to a future title, but this one is very obvious. It's Rockstar. They already knew they were going to do GTA 5 next. They're working on it probably at this point. So, I can't be mad at that. It's a cool little nod. Now, we're going to get to some of the ones for GTA 6, and I really am only going to talk about one of them in this video. There's a poster outside the Weasel Dorset Theater in Rockford Hills that reads, Vice the Musical. Now, I am going to talk about it real quick, but it has been discussed by their moms and their sons. But I just really like this Easter egg. I thought it was fun, so I wanted to talk about it. But the poster consists of a male and female dancing, the protagonists of GTA 6, Lucia and Jason, most likely. Police sirens in the background, showing the most likely criminals. In the trailer, they're robbing up. They're obviously criminals. It's GTA. We know they're criminals. That is also true, of course. And then Vice City is Miami in the Rockstar universe. And we know GTA 6 takes place in Vice City. Now, I also want to mention the dates. August 14th through October 20th. Obviously, there's no years putting this down. This tease has been in GTA 5. I don't know for how long, because GTA, Rockstar is another one that puts stuff in their games later down the line. I don't know if this was in there way back in 2013. I don't think so. Probably not. It's kind of funny that I'm talking about it this year, the year it's supposed to come out. So August 14th through October 20th are the dates shown. And so we're thinking it's probably going to be around that time. I'm thinking probably more September, October. It could be a little past that. I don't know, because they were talking about fall of this year. But if we do get in August, that'd be awesome. But it's probably going to be like September, October. That's what I'm hoping, at least. But yeah, we do know that it's planned for, its release is planned for fall of this year. But this poster has been in the game for a couple years. It's been talked about before. So like before, it was really just like, it's probably going to come out during those dates, but we don't know what year yet. Now, hopefully it's those dates of 2025. But I mean, it could be pushed back again. Let's hope not. If it does, I'll be very upset. Yeah, most likely September, October, but we still don't have an exact date yet. So we'll just have to wait and see. If you want to see more Easter eggs foreshadowing GTA 6, definitely check out the Strange Man's video on that. And he also has another one, a very interesting one that he goes in depth on from RDR2, foreshadowing GTA 6. Yeah, check out Strange Man's videos on these because he's talked about all of them pretty much so far. That pretty much wraps up all the main ones I wanted to talk about. I want to do a couple shout outs right here. This one is more of a movie one, but I want to mention it because I think it's actually pretty funny. Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull in Fallout
New Vegas.
So this one is a Easter egg to a movie, but it's just funny because Bethesda made an Indiana Jones game that released last year. I'm not saying they knew all the way back then that they were going to make an Indiana Jones game, but that would be some of the best foreshadowing ever, I think.
You find this Easter egg in Fallout New Vegas. It's near Goodspring, so if you go a little bit south of like Goodspring and the Yanksty Memorial and the Goodspring Cemetery, like that area, if you go a little south of there, there's a trail that's kind of right there, and you'll see a fridge with a decomposed body in it. If you go a little closer, you'll see Indy had a different outcome than he did in the movie. So I like this Easter egg just because it kind of is poking fun at the fact that if you went inside a fridge during like an atomic bomb, you would not live. That's very unrealistic. It's movie magic though, so I like how Fallout 4 kind of made fun of that. And if you look inside, you'll see it says Gambling Man's hat instead of Indiana Jones hat or something like that. But it's really cool Easter egg. You'll see the hat. I think the whip's in there. Is the whip in there? It's hard to see from this video, but it's you see a skeleton and for sure the fedora. Probably the whip too, I assume. But it's a cool little nod to Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which came out that year, I believe. Fallout New Vegas came out in 2008, as well as the movie Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, Indiana Jones.
Which would be some of the best foreshadowing ever, which I'm not saying that's what it is. I don't think it's that. I think they're just it was a nod to a movie, but I think it's pretty ironic, and I think it's pretty funny that it happened to work out that Bethesda ended up making an Indiana Jones game. The last shout out I want to do is the Nemesis in the RE3 remake ties more to RE4 than the original games do. They make Nemesis, they connect him more to an early version of Las Plagas, which is a main virus. I guess maybe it was a virus. Those were the things that like popped out of the heads, like flying or flaring around, which is kind of cool. They don't really talk about that in the original games. They only added that to the remix, which is why I didn't make it a whole thing, because they changed it a little bit. It wasn't originally like that. If that was like, they actually foreshadowed that in the original game, that would have been dope as hell. But it's still cool that they decided to tie that, kind of make it more connected. And I don't think it hurts. I don't think it hurts anything. I think it's a cool fix, and I think it makes sense. That wraps up this video. Those are all of the Easter eggs I'm going to talk about in this video, foreshadowing the future titles. Hope you guys enjoyed it. It was really fun to make. Let me know what else you guys want to see. Plan on making games that foreshadow the end of the game at some point, which I think that'll be a pretty fun one.
Thank you for all you beautiful bumpkins that have made it all the way to the very end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you want, and hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let us know if you guys liked this kind of form of video. First time doing this kind of format. So let us know if you like it. If you like us playing games, you like this, you like a mix of both, just let us know down in the comments below. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, week, and we'll see you next time we upload. Peace out. And I almost forgot to say, Happy Easter, everybody. Hope you enjoy your holiday. This video just happened to come out. Well, as I was editing, I realized it was going to come out during Easter, but before I didn't have it planned to come out in Easter. But a little Easter treat for you guys. Happy holidays, and we'll see you all next time we upload.